Very warm welcome to all of you. UGC on July 6th came out with a mandate citing the universities and higher educational institutions have to conduct the terminal semester exams on a compulsory note. Of course, the Secretary of UGC did mention while the exams for these final year students are important, they are equally concerned about the safety and the health aspect of the students. Within 2 days of the time, it came out with a 31-point SOP that these institutions have to follow up with. When this news broke up, we could find a lot of speculation and buzz around from various stakeholders of these education domain. You can see students, one segment of students protesting, which starts right from students of Punjab going on a hunger strike, not wanting to write the exams, or today's set of students wherein you have a COVID-19 positive student also being part of that group, having filed an appeal in the Supreme Court, wanting to cancel the examination. Certainly, the politicians or say the administrators, state governors have raised up this issue, right from West Bengal or from Uddhav Thackeray's Maharashtra government, again appealing to the Supreme Court to withdraw this. 6 state universities have already canceled the examinations and declared the results to the students. In all this kind of a scenario, when this directive came in, definitely universities governed by the UGC and MHRD had a valid point also to express. When you talk about terminal end examinations for the outgoing students of UG and PG, yes, it does matter to their higher education, to their career building process, and to their overall educational quality of acquisition that they go and really scale themselves in their various pursuits in the global arena. Yes, many leading nations, USA, UK, Germany, Singapore, and many more have joined and have completed their exams through the alternatives of conducting the exams. The one silver lining here is UGC has made it mandatory, but it also sensibly gave the freedom to all the universities and higher educational institutions to look for different modes of conducting the exams, considering the pandemic in mind. So it talks about various forms that the universities can choose of. But whatever said and done, the last 10 days, what we have seen is only much of a debate that is happening, release after release in terms of news coming up in the media. Many sides positive, some sides disturbing also when it comes to the overall health of the education. So we decided to have a topic that is going to really bring about a viable solution for the efficient and effective conduct of terminal end examinations so that even in this crisis of a pandemic, things can happen on a very successful note is what we wanted to look upon as a positive perspective. Hearty welcome to you, Shantanu, to this exclusive webinar. And hearty welcome to all the participants also. Yeah, to begin with, I recently read that out of 900 odd universities, nearly 750 universities have communicated to the UGC after the mandatory guideline coming up on the conduct of exams, saying that either some of them have done it or some are going to do the exams as well. So if you look at this statistical figure, it's going to be hardly around 200 universities who doesn't seem to have been decided about whether to conduct the exam or not. Or some people who have already taken the decision are looking at it on a different perspective. Whatever said and done, the COVID pandemic has disrupted education big time. It is causing concerns day in and day after, wherein we don't see a big light and the tunnel keeps going on and we are unable to bring a clarity as to when does this COVID-19 end with. So a lot of crises across, be it on the social sector, on the business sector, on the personal mental well-being of people, on the health front, whatnot. So considering this situation, Shantanu, I just want you to give us an overall understanding of COVID and its impact on education in a nutshell, with specific reference to conducting of examinations.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
is it a feasible option now?
So what I did is I actually have a presentation to make, and I'm going to use those slides to explain my views on this topic, and possibly also come out with advice about how can universities and institutions and colleges can still conduct assessments credibly, right? So with your permission, let me just start off. Thank you so much. So COVID-19 is obviously a health crisis, has created a health crisis amongst everybody, but it's also created a parallel crisis in the entire academic domain. Initially, it went ahead with disrupting our classrooms. So students were not available on the campuses, so they could not come inside through the doors. So institutions decided to go to their houses through the windows, right? So that's the way education somehow maintained continuity. And then came the problem of assessments. I'm not here to debate about whether examination should be conducted or should not. I'm not here at this point in time. I don't want to debate the fact that whether our structuring of assessments, structuring of examinations is correct. But I'm going to limit my discussions to the current UGC mandate, diktat, which says that final year students must appear for examinations because that lends credibility to their degrees. And it could have a long shadow in case you just give out degrees without assessments, it can have long shadow in their careers. I've also seen the way several institutions, several universities, several colleges has opposed this particular suggestion. Obviously, several of the student unions have also opposed this with the health of the students keeping in mind. So I have no comments on that part. But what I'm going to discuss today is how efficient can online assessments be? Because not many universities, not many colleges in this country have ever tried this. Whichever way you look at it, whether we do assessment this time or we don't do assessment this time, this assessment, as this beast of assessment, is not going to leave us, right? You may leave aside this assessment now, but another 4, 5, 6 months time, another assessment is due. And that time you'll have to also think about the first year students, the second year students, the final year students. So ultimately assessments has to be conducted somehow. So I think that whether we conduct assessments now or later, I think it's right for all of us to start thinking about the various options that are available to us and pros and cons of each one of these, right? Just not conducting assessments may not be the right strategy. You can't treat fever just by breaking a thermometer, right? So you need to ensure that you are conducting assessments. And this session, I'll try to keep focused towards looking at the various options and look at the efficacy, efficiency, and the effectiveness of online assessments in COVID times and thereafter even. So when I looked at assessments from institution perspective, obviously there are many, many risks that we are all looking at, right? The first and the foremost in everybody's mind is the health risk of the student. Today, when universities are thinking about conducting center-based traditional pen and paper examinations, obviously I'm looking at students coming to a center. Students coming to a center has got multiple risks for the students. One is students will have to travel. Students will have to travel because everybody do not live at the same city or the town where the centers are. Students have gone back to their homes, to their villages, to their native places, so they will have to all travel now. Travel is a risky proposition in COVID times. They will have to not only travel, but also have to stay in those hotels and lodges and try to manage examinations that time. They will have to come to the centers. And the centers will be places where, in spite of all the SOP documents that I've looked at from which UGC has sent, I'm not too sure whether that's risk-free. Obviously, that's targeted towards minimizing the risk, but still there are lots of risks there. Looking at the scenario that India has already entered the phase 3 of the epidemic, where there is a lot of community transmission happening, you can't actually identify an asymptomatic patient from a non-COVID patient. And hence, the risks at the center, the transmission risk between students, between the invigilator students is very, very high in this particular case. And it's right to be concerned about this at this point in time. The SOP maintained, managed or mentioned by the Government of India, UGC, this 21 pages or 21 pointers that you mentioned, Srimati, is not easy to maintain. Let me tell you, I'm sure lots of examination controllers must be having sleepless nights, because for universities, these are outsourced centers. These centers are actually controlled by different colleges, different institutions, and getting them to follow all of these SOPs is not going to be an easy job. Trying to figure out adequate amount of manpower to do all of the sanitization, all of this cleanup, all of this rearrangement of tables, invigilation is not going to be very easy. So it's going to be a very, very challenging job to do center management in today's time. Then when I looked at online assessment, it comes with its own challenges. It comes with, because this COVID-19 has caught all of us unprepared, which means that students were suddenly moved to their home sine die, which means that they did not get the time to prepare. Everybody doesn't have a laptop. Everybody doesn't have a desktop. Not everybody is available in an area which is well connected with the internet. Not everybody has got a smartphone. So device availability, internet availability, connectivity, all of these is a very, very big challenge in today's time. So how do I find out a solution to this? And in case we decide to conduct a pen and paper examination, we also looked at several other challenges which were not mentioned in those UGC SOP documents. What about the logistics issues? How do I send question papers to the center? How do I send answer sheets to the center? How do I take back these answer sheets, all of these? Because the courier companies, all of this logistics company are not working to their optimum level today. So getting all of these working is very, very difficult. I was speaking to one of those vice chancellors in one of the universities in MP, and he told me, Shantanu, I'm not being able to even shortlist so many examiners, because examiners today are not wanting to check these papers because they believe that there are chances that because of an infected student, the infection possibly could come inside those answer sheets, and they could just COVID wrapped properly coming into my home is something that I'm not looking for. So he's finding it very difficult to find out, examiners for this answer sheets, and that poses some of the problem. So today, I think looking at all of these, I really believe that there's no perfect solution available. And universities will have to look at a combination of multiple things which possibly will work in this today's time. So this vice chancellor that I was talking to you out of MP, so we suggested that why don't you look at, so he has about 25,000 odd students in the final year for whom the examination has to get conducted. So we suggested that why don't you do a small polling or take an opinion poll from students or do a small survey saying that how many students are comfortable taking an online assessment, be it on a laptop, be it on a mobile phone, be it on a desktop, and have got internet connectivity. Even if from this 25,000 students, if you could find out about 10,000, 8,000, 12,000 students who are comfortable doing that, you could possibly go ahead and take online assessments for them. You have just cut your problem by 50%. And for the rest 50%, there could be alternate solutions, right? So I think in today's time, in COVID time, it's unrealistic to look for a perfect solution. We'll have to look at combination of many solutions to make this system work.
Exactly. Physical examinations are going to be a daunting task and definitely not going to be a healthy solution is what we could infer from what you throw as a slide. Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So in front of institutions, in front of universities or colleges, what are the various options? I think these are the three options showing up on my screen. Either I do conventional examination, pen and paper, call people to the centers. Some universities that I'm talking to, they also told me, Shantanu, we are also looking at increasing the number of centers so that students do not have to travel for more than 5 kilometers from their homes. That means they don't have to travel to another city and go and stay there. So I'm trying to do that. But I'm sure he's up for a different challenge, because that means you're looking at multiplying your examination centers by a few times, right? That throws your logistics problem up, your manpower problem to so many times. It's not going to be easy. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very challenging task to conduct conventional examinations. Some universities, have also started evaluating an open book assessment. Said that, can I send question papers on WhatsApp or an email, or maybe on my website, and ask students to download those answer sheets or question papers, write those answers on a piece of paper, and then take pictures and upload, or pictures and send. So can I look at that? Obviously, that's a viable solution in today's time. And I think universities must evaluate that as an alternative to the conventional examinations, because only challenge in this case is that universities are not in India, are not used to doing this open book assessments, nor are the students. So devising the right type of an assessment strategy, figuring out the right type of questions, working out the right type of case studies, and finding out the right type of comprehensions in this time is going to be the key challenge. So hence you need to find out the right type of paper setters at this point in time who can actually create question banks through which I can do open book assessments. But then in case some universities have got the ability or the competency to do that, I think that's one of the viable solutions that we should all evaluate. And the third option that's available for university institutions is online assessments, but then it comes with its own set of challenges. One, because we are unprepared at this point in time. In spite of everything that I say, we are unprepared. I mean, the institution at one end is unprepared because they do not have the technology, they do not have the question bank, the faculty have never done it, the evaluation have never happened. So all of these are completely uncharted territory. At the second side, for the students, it's also a new animal. So they have never seen online assessments, right? India's digitization in the education has been lagging behind for so many years now. I think had online regulations come in this country 5 years back, possibly would have had a much easier solution. But having said that, currently online assessments will come with many, many challenges, and they're untested. We've never tried this up. So how do we actually decide on a final stuff? And but I'm going to focus today's presentation discussion about online assessments and try to demystify about how that can still be conducted, and what are the challenges? What should I look for when I look at online assessments? What are the challenges? What are the options? What should I expect out of that? What is possible? What is not, right? At this point in time, I just also wanted to ensure that today's webinar is interactive. I've got a question to ask to all the audience here. So I'm going to throw a small poll, which is going to appear on your screen. So my request to all of you is to answer this particular questions. Yeah. So here is the question on your screen. How comfortable are you as an institution with the idea of conducting offline exams in these uncertain times? Okay. So I'm just going to pause here for about 15 seconds and let people answer. Okay. So I'll have to pause at this time in the interest of time. I assume that most people would have answered this. Okay, so here it is. So almost 62% people says that we are not comfortable at all. 33% feel slightly comfortable, and almost 6% think that they are very, very comfortable with the offline examination being conducted. Let's go forward.
That's interesting. So I think, Shantanu, this one question of this poll clearly makes us understand that how health and life certainty comes to proximity when we think about conducting exams on a physical note, which needs to be addressed on a very, very sensitive note as well by the various educational institutions.
I'm sure. So when I think about online assessments, these are what is going on in my mind. What are the various challenges? First of all, that when I think about online assessment, most colleges and universities think about MCQs, right? So because that's the most prevalent type of online assessment that we have all witnessed. But I'm also sure that most educators, most academicians believe that only MCQ-based final examinations can do only that much. all sorts of different cognitive skill sets, cognitive abilities of the student can't be measured by just be asking MCQ type questions. Obviously not in the current scheme of things where our question banks are not well made at this point in time. So how can I conduct final examination with only MCQ? So online assessments, are they limited to MCQ type only? That's one of my questions coming up there. Second question which comes to my mind is, how about evaluation and grading? How will it happen, right? In case I put subjective assessments, I do different type of questions, how will I do evaluation and grading? Can I handle vernacular questions? And this is a very, very important question there. So there, we deal with several universities in various states. I deal with universities in Kerala. I deal with universities in Tamil Nadu, in West Bengal, in Assam, in UP. And lots of assessments in those states do not happen in English. So if, for example, if I want to have a subjective assessment and I want the student to write an essay on Mahatma Gandhi, how will he type in Bengali? Or how will he type in Telugu or in Tamil or in Malayalam? So this is a big challenge today, and people are trying to figure out, are there solutions? Does the online platforms, do online platforms have a solution to this? And is that possible, right? How about audit trail? Students are going to take assessments at home, nobody watching them, nobody sitting on their back. How do I know that he has taken the examinations or his elder brother? How do I know that he was not reading a book and just copying from there? How do I know that he didn't go to a website, copy pasted the entire stuff here? How do I know that he was not speaking to one of his friends on a mobile phone while he was writing it so that he was being prompted the right answer? How do I maintain authenticity and credibility of these assessments? How do I do proctoring? Right? In a physical environment, when examinations happen, there's a proctor, there is an invigilator who keeps on moving around in that entire corridor and keeps a eye on every single student. How do I do proctoring in an online scenario and maintain authenticity? How to deal with a situation where all my students do not have a laptop or a desktop or smartphones, for example? Is there an option there? Students do not have a practice. How do I get them ready? Right? Is there a way to get them practice there? How do I take the scare out children so that they can focus on the content and not on the technology, right? How do I do that? And the last but not the least, one which is on top of everybody's mind is, what if my internet gets disconnected, right? Is there a solution to all of these? And I'm sure there are many more questions there. In case there are more questions than this in your mind, please write it on the Q&A and we'll try to answer them at the end.
Yeah,
right?
I think with respect to this presentation of yours, there's one question wherein they have asked whether you require only a laptop or a PC. Can we take the tests in the mobile desk?
Yeah. So that's covered in the question that even I had in my mind, which is non-availability of devices on student side. And let's answer them one by one, right? So when I look at an online assessment on online stuff, I think we'll need to look at technology in two different parts, right? So and technology in two different parts. One will be an assessment engine, which will actually conduct the examination. And second is going to be the proctoring engine, which is actually going to do the proctoring or the invigilation or going to do the cheat-free examinations. So there are two different engines which work when it comes to online assessments. And next two slides, I'm going to focus on, what to look for in an online assessment platform. At this point, I also have one more question for all of you. Let me figure out the second question for all of you to answer. Yeah. So here it is on your screen. What, according to you, is the biggest concern when it comes to conducting remote online assessments? What, according to you, is the biggest concern in your mind when it comes to conducting remote online examinations? There are 4 options: managing large-scale examinations without previous experience, practice, both at the end of the student as well as the institution, cost considerations, are they very expensive, limitations on the type of questions that it can do, and credibility, authenticity of examinations. Yeah, I think I have. Let me stop this poll now. I think I have several answers. here is what the audience is saying. So credibility and authenticity of examinations, cheating and bias is the biggest problem. The concerns are also managing large-scale examination without previous experience. Cost consideration looks like is not too much of a concern at this point in time, but limitations on the type of questions is definitely a big concern. Sure, let me take it up from here on. So what to look for when you look at an online assessment platform for institutions? So how do you maintain credibility, right? So today, when you look at an online assessment platform, most online assessment platforms will come with its proctoring engine, which is going to be artificial intelligence driven. The challenge here is not only being able to do proctoring or invigilation, but also about the fact that let's look at a scenario, okay? Let's look at a scenario when a university is conducting assessments for 10,000 students at one go. That means 10,000 students are actually writing examinations on their own devices, sitting at home. And the institution now gets to see 10,000 screens on your computer. 10,000 screens on a computer. Is it humanly possible to invigilate that? It's not possible. Keep any number of invigilators, it's not possible to watch 10,000 screens simultaneously. So how do you do that? So hence, here comes the latest technology, which is artificial intelligence. So an AI engine sitting on top of all of these videos which are getting recorded will ensure that the software is being able to assess the chances of a student cheating, right? So, and it will start flagging things. So there's a machine level intelligence which is working to do invigilation. So you don't need human beings to do invigilation. So there is an AI-based remote proctoring engine which is necessary when you conduct online assessments. So the AI engine is going to do the remote level of proctoring. So out of 10,000 students, the AI will be able to tell you whether these 100 students are actually looks like cheating, right? And so humanly, you can look at only those 100 ones which are being flagged by the AI engine. So you need that level of intelligence on top of on the assessment engine to be able to do that. Any credible proctoring software should be able to catch hold of impersonation, which means that when a student starts taking the assessment, he's supposed to show up his ID card. In today's time, because you cannot do thumb biometrics at this point in time, you do not have a database. Since you do not have a database, that's ruled out. Only way to authenticate somebody is to ask the student to showcase his ID card, government approved ID card, just before he starts assessment. And the software should be able to start matching the picture in that ID card with the student who is actually taking the assessment and start telling you in case it's not matching. At times, the quality of the picture is not very good. At that time, it will also tell you that these are the students which I could not match the picture with the person taking the examination. You need to manually see whether it's correct. So it will start doing the person matching. If the person left and somebody else came in between and started taking the assessment, it will tell you the second person has come in. If you see two different persons on the screen, it will tell you that here there is one person taking the assessment, there's somebody else also helping it out. So it will start doing all of these. If the students start using some support material, it starts opening books there, it starts opening notes here, he starts opening one more laptop here. If he starts doing any of these, the software starts identifying that he's actually not taking the assessment, but taking some other help. If the student tries to use a mobile phone, he starts using headphones like me, or he starts using phone, he talks to someone, he looks at the mobile phone screen, the software will start actually monitoring all of these. If he tries opening another browser while the software is already on, it will not allow him to do that. It will prevent him from doing that, right? It will also allow the invigilator to start doing a two-way remote proctoring. For example, if I start seeing that one student is actually looking at the mobile phone and trying to do some garbage here and there, I can actually start a two-way proctoring with him. It means that it will almost look like video conferencing, that the invigilator will start appearing on his screen and can actually have a dialogue with him saying that, hey, this is not allowed. If you stop, unless you stop doing this, I'm going to stop you from taking this assessment. So how does this software work? So this entire anti-cheating software or the proctoring software starts working, uses certain power of the computing device. It starts as soon as the examination starts, it switches on the camera. If it doesn't find the camera, it will tell you this device does not have a camera and cannot take examinations. It switches on the camera. So everything that's happening in the view of the camera starts getting recorded. It starts recording everything on the screen. Whatever is happening on the screen is automatically recorded. It starts taking control of the keyboard and says that only a few keys which are relevant to these examinations will work and the rest of the keys will stop functioning, right? it'll switch on its microphone on the laptop and start recording all ambient noise all around it. And take all of these as input, which goes to this artificial intelligence engine. And that engine, along with the biometrics of the face that it starts monitoring, starts analyzing this data and starts finding out who possibly is cheating out of this student, and then flags that student brings up on top, right? And so out of this 10,000 students, they'll start seeing on top of the students who are actually possibly cheating at this point in time. And you can layer a machine level proctoring with a manual level proctoring, right? So first the machine does it, and then you can have a set of invigilators who sit at their home and can look at the screen only those candidates who are filtered by the AI engine. Possibly that's the best way to do assessments. Online assessments will work today in almost every single device. It will work on desktops, it will work on laptops, it will work on mobile phones, it will work on tablets, and it must work on all of these. And without that, it makes my system or my problem more difficult than today's time, because most students who have gone back to their native places or the villages possibly do not have access to laptops or desktops. But look at the mobile phone penetration or the smartphone penetration in this country. And thanks to all our telecom players, most college-going students today have got access to a smartphone. Maybe he does not own a smartphone, but he has access to a smartphone. Means that he can possibly organize a smartphone for himself on that day of examination. Either his father has it, his brother has it, his friend has it, somebody in the village has it. He can organize a smartphone on that day of examination. That's what I mean by saying that. And today, anybody who has a smartphone obviously has connectivity to internet, right? So how do I do that part? So that's going to be important. Most assessment engines have got a fault-tolerant mechanism to take care of connectivity breaks. So in case a student is actually taking an assessment and the network breaks at that point in time, the software understands that the student has got a network break. It will freeze the session of the student. Let's say it's a 1 hour examination and the student has actually taken 30 minutes and then his connectivity broke off. So the system will actually freeze the session at that point in time and wait for the student to re-log in. And once the student re-logins, it starts the examination right from where he left last time. However, the caveat is that the student must log in during the period on which the examination is open, right? So examinations are configured to be open for a longer period of time. The duration could be still 2 hours, but the examination is open for a longer period of time. That's the way examination should be configured. The second part of any assessment engine is going to be the examination processing engine. This is the most intelligent one, which is actually conducting the examinations, right? Whenever you think about an assessment engine, it's important to ensure that it can handle multiple question types. And you need multiple question types. I mean, every single question type that you have heard of, online assessments can handle today. And in next about minute or so, I'm going to show you in some time, right? So it should be able to handle objective type questions, your match the following questions, fill in the blank questions, missing word type of questions, subjective question, descriptive question, numerical question, calculative question, mathematical question, audiovisual question, comprehension type. It should be able to do everything, right? And it should ensure that this doesn't make the life of student miserable, right? So that's one important thing that you have to look at. When you look at an online examinations, in a traditional pen and paper examination, we have got a fixed time of start and fixed time of ending examination. It starts at 10, it ends at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's 3 hours examinations, fixed time start, fixed time end. Online examinations do not work that way. Online examinations, you have to give them a flexible time. You have to say that it starts at 10 p.m., ends at 4 p.m., duration is 3 hours, right? That's the way to configure it. Reason is because if you configure a fixed duration, the problem happens is when the student starts the assessment, let's say his laptop is not starting, his internet has gone down, there's no power at my place. What do we do? I'm constrained by this. So students will come at different point in time. However, everybody will get only 3 hours for assessment. But the challenges here is that, what do I do now? Because the student who has taken the assessment initially will just leak the question papers to the rest of the people. So how do I manage that? And hence, every online assessment must ensure that every student gets a unique question paper. How will that happen? That will be done by the assessment engine itself. So the university or the institution must just feed the question bank to the software engine and tell him the rules of the game. Tell him that Give them 3 questions from chapter 1, 2 from chapter 2, 3 from chapter 3. Give them 1 MCQ, 2 multiple choice, or 2 subjective type assessments, and 3 mathematical questions. 2 have to be very difficult, 3 have to be moderate, and 4 have to be easy, right? Give the rules of the game to the software, and then leave it to the software. The software will generate unique question paper for every single student, and it will not allow cheating. No 2 students will get the same question paper. That's very important for assessment engines when you talk at online assessments. One thing which is very, very important, which is called time zone management, may not be applicable to institutions today, but whatever solution I'm talking about is not a today's problem. We must all realize that the future of education, the post-COVID era, is going to be very different from the pre-COVID era that we have all seen, witnessed in our lives. The world is not going back to that scenario. The future of education, the future of learning, future of universities, future of degrees are going to be very different in the post-COVID era. And we believe that all the experimentations and learning that we are all doing today is going to play a significant role in carving the new life form of education in times to come. In tomorrow, as per UGC, almost about 230 odd universities are going to get licensed to run online programs in this country starting this year, right? If that happens, and online programs come with no territorial jurisdiction, the government of India also wants internationalization of education. Means I'm going to attract international students to my university. When it comes there to that, and we have to conduct assessments for students who are, some of which whom are in India, some students are in Dubai, and some of them are still in US, and all of these students have to take the same assessment. Imagine. It's important for us to realize that all of these 3 countries fall in different time zones. Let's say I configured a system which says that examinations has to start at 10 a.m. on 25th of July 2020, right? But 10 a.m. 25th of July 2020 is different in India, different in Dubai, and different in the United States. And hence, it's possible that a student in India starts taking the examination, the student in Dubai starts 2 hours later because his 10 a.m. comes 2 hours later. And the student in US is going to appear for the examinations 12 hours later. When he starts taking the examination, the server says examination over because the software was looking at India timing only. That will not work. When I look at an assessment engine, it's important to look at time zone management, which means that the software engine should identify the time zone of the learner, the student, and automatically allow a student to take an examination or not take an examination. So whereas Indian students will be allowed to take examination that time, the Dubai student should be said that it's still 8 a.m., 2 hours yet to go. Do not take the assessments. And if the US guy starts taking the assessment that time, it should tell him that, hey, it's still 24th of July for you. Wait for 12 hours and then the assessment is nearly over. It's very important. When you look at subjective assessments, it's also important to look at how do you look at subjective assessments in this case, right? Subjective assessments, because in today's time, when people are looking at vernacular type of languages, how do you handle this type of questions is going to be very, very important. How do you handle mathematical questions? Because when students have to do very difficult right formula, right? When you look at square root of 87 plus 2 pi r, how do you type it? I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, and more so on your keyboard, on your smartphone, it's very, very difficult. How do you do that? And can you conduct viva voce type of examination, right? Audiovisual questions. At this point of time, I would actually, look at going to the software and showing you how possibly I've set up one of these softwares where possibly I could show you how this thing could conduct. So here I have set up one system where possibly different type of questions can be addressed. The first one that I've set up is a multiple choice question. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so the multiple choice question is the easiest type of question that anybody can handle. The second type of question that I've set up for all of you to look at is something called drag and drop type of questions. Pick up the right options and put them in the right place. Drag and drop. And obviously all of you understand that this works fabulously on touch-sensitive devices like smartphones and tablets. Pick them up and put at the right places. The third type of question that I've set up for all of you to have a look at is something called, which is a missing word, or something like the fill in the blanks type of questions. There are multiple options available here. You need to select the right type of questions. I'm still dealing with objective type assessments though, but there are different type of objective questions. Okay. The next type of question that I've set up for you to look at is match the following. There's one definition and you're supposed to look at what is the right match for this particular stuff. Yeah. Human resource strategy is as a goal is possibly is the firm's deliberate use. The management objectives, a goal-oriented approach, and the compensation possibly is the legally required benefit. The next question that you see on my screen is a true-false type of question. I'm still in the realm of objective type assessments though, but there are different type of assessments which you can conduct. The next question that I'm showing you on your screen is a comprehension type of question. Comprehensions could have a paragraph written on top. I'm supposed to read that paragraph and answer a few questions there, or possibly I could have been given a video to watch. Yeah, student is expected to watch this video, synthesize the what's shown up as a message, and understand that, and then answer the questions from the various options that are given. A different type of an objective type assessment though. Then comes one of the most challenging questions for students today, which is the subjective type assessments. How do I do subjective type assessments in an online scenario? Yeah. So let's see. Whatever I will say now will be taken as an input to this particular question. Full stop. India is a great nation, and Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation. Full stop. You have noticed that whatever I say starts getting automatically typed, right? This is an important tool which is used largely in higher education institutions, where I'm not trying to test the typing speed of the child, but I'm actually want to check his understanding of a topic or his cognitive skills, and hence voice to text is a very, very important parameter that I can use here. अब मैं जो भी बोलूंगा हिंदी में वो automatically type हो जाएगा. If you notice, the software can also type in vernacular languages. I can't talk Tamil or Telugu, so I please excuse me from that. But any language that you talk about, it can actually handle that. Student just needs to speak and software can type. Obviously, once we have typed it, you can also go ahead and correct any particular word that, for example, I don't need this word, I can automatically correct. So that's one of the options that you can use while taking online assessments. Second option is there are lots of assessments where you need to do drawing. So you need to ask the student to make a drawing on a piece of paper and upload that as a file. Yeah. The next difficult type of question that I come across is something called mathematical questions. Today, tools are very, very intelligent. Let's look at the same question that I talked about, square root of 87 plus 2 pi r. What do I do? Look at this, what I'm doing. I'm actually using my keyboard to write it. Yeah. Did you notice something here? There's a handwriting recognition. So software technologists today use handwriting recognition to mathematical complex questions. Students can just write on the screen in whatever handwriting that they have. The software identifies what that student has written and brings it to the screen. So various different type of questions are today possible to be done using softwares today. Right? So it's not all that difficult. So if you have an intelligent platform, it can handle mathematical, subjective, use different type of voice enabling, and actually help institutions conduct assessments. But while I'm looking at it, it's important for institutions to ensure that when you talk to a service provider or a technology platform, it should be able to provide you an extensive audit trail, because this is going to be important in times to come. It should provide you a complete video recording of every single student, the camera recording, the screen recording, and it gives you an analysis with the AI engine saying that download the video, but if I want to hop onto only the places, for example, it's a 3 hours video recording, I directly want to go to the places where the student would have, the software suspects the student to have cheated, I should directly jump there, right? So I need intelligent video. The software should be not only take the video, but also take periodic images, because at times videos become bulky. You may not want to store it for a very, very long period of time, but you want to store the images. It should do images as well as video recording. It should provide extensive logs of everything that happened in the software, so that you should be able to recreate the student experience. So for example, a student said that, sir, I tried to open it, my software did not open. Or I opened till question 5 after that software did not go. You will be able to recreate the entire experience of the students seamlessly using software, saying that this is how the software went through. And so extensive logging is important. Not only video, it's important to record sound. So any software should be able to record ambient sound around the examinee and produce that as a part of audit trail. And the software should be able to give me extensive analytics on two different fronts: analytics for the student performances and analytics to ensure that I have understanding of the question bank. Because whenever you look at online assessments is technology which I'm going to use for a long period of time, for example. So my question banks are going to mature with time. So at the end of the assessment, I want to figure out how did the students perform, but I also want to find out how good is my question bank, right? So is it intelligent? Is it too difficult? Is it too easy? Software should be able to analyze that and help me improve that over a period of time so that assessments become intelligent. So last two slides. I want to talk about the best practices that many different organizations, many different universities across the world have used this. So when you look at a platform or a service, please ensure that you're looking at all of these. Number one, the solution must work on all different types of devices. It should work on all mobile phones, on desktops, on laptops, and tablets. This is very, very important. You need to ensure that the solution should provide the software should provide a solution for a connectivity breaks, right? So in case there's a network break, what do I do? It's important for you to conduct a few rounds of mock tests for the students before you start going to the final examinations. So most universities were suggested that please conduct at least 2 mock tests as a practice so that students are not scared of the technology platform anymore before they come to the final examinations. At least 2 mock tests before the examination is important. You have to ensure that the invigilation engine has an AI component, because manually it will be impossible for you to do invigilation. And ensure that for authentication, because biometrics at this point in time in the COVID time is not possible. Beyond this, I'm sure we will be connecting this to Aadhaar. But today, it's important to use a college ID card or a government ID card as an authentication engine. From best practices perspective, it's important to ask for the extensive voice and video recording and the logs from the service provider. You must get everything to keep with you at the institution, not at the cloud later on. After the examination is conducted, ask the service provider to give you a download of all the voice, video recordings and everything for you. Ensure that for all the subjective questions or the descriptive type of questions, you have an option to do manual grading, because lots of times softwares cannot assess the creativity of a student in lots of subjective assessments, but the examiners or the paper checkers should be able to check them digitally sitting at their own home. They should be able to log in and give marks to their all the students for those subjective questions in case there are any. You will need to ensure that that happens on the software itself, and you have to ensure that you look at all the costs put together. The cost of the conducting the mock test, the conducting the final examinations, the manual proctoring, all of this put together. Look at your total cost of ownership, not only the cost per assessment. Look at the total cost of ownership for for your entire examination, and I can assure you that as far as all the calculations that we have done, online assessments are more cost efficient than conducting pen and paper examinations, right? And when you look at technology platforms, my advice at this point in time is that ask for professional services. You will not only the software, you'll need professional services, because you'll need people to upload your question papers, you'll need people to do manual checking, you'll need people to support your students when the examinations are going on. You'll need lots of services from the service provider. Ask for professional services before while you decide your online assessment for your institution. At this point in time, I have the final questions to ask from all of you. Only 30 seconds, and here is a question on your screen. In your opinion, do you think conducting online exams is the best alternative considering the current challenges? Right? Challenges are there for all different types of examinations. Do you think, in your opinion, online exams are the best alternative considering the current challenges? Thank you. It's 40 seconds. I'm going to end this poll now here. And a whooping 88% people believe that online assessments are a viable solution in current time, right?
That's so very well put on, by you, Shantanu. I think this would reassure each and every educational administrators to think about and demystify themselves with the so-called apprehension that they were having in conducting the exams online. It's mind-blowing.
Absolutely, Shrimati. And so, my final advice to all institutions who are thinking about conducting the assessment this time, or even in the semesters coming forward, because you have to conduct internal assessments after 3 months. You have to conduct your first term assessments at the end of this particular calendar year. So, I think that 3-point advice. One is plan well in advance, right? So, in case there is 30th September deadline given to universities, we need to start preparing now. Preparation makes things look less risky. You can conduct a few rounds of mock tests. It's easier for the student to do. They will be able to handle this much better. Look for a competent and an experienced partner. That's very, very important, because when you are just starting up, it can't happen that you are new and the partner is also new, doing this for the first time. Both new, that possibly doesn't work. You need an experienced partner to handhold you in the first few instances of doing assessments. And follow the best practices is what my chances are. And please be sure that there are going to be glitches when the first time that you're doing it, because the COVID-19 is catching all of us unawares. Students are doing it for the first time. Their machines may not be good. Their laptops may not be good enough. Their connectivity will fail. So it's important to keep it simple for the first time. You may not want to look at all sorts of complexities in the first assessment itself. Several universities said that first assessment, I want to do an MCQ or a different type of objective types. I said, fair enough. I mean, the first one, you may want to keep it simple, but going forward, when you look at a platform, it should have the capability to do lots of difficult things as well, right? Thank you so much to all of you, Shrimati, and over to you, and we should be happy to take questions now.
Thank you so much, Shantanu. You had detailed each and every dimension of this examination conduct in a beautiful way. I think even a layman can now understand pretty well and would be much more confident of thinking about conducting these exams online. Let me quickly take up, there are several questions that have come in, which you would be certainly willing to answer. Of course, you have answered few of them, but still a couple of questions which could be reassured again in your own language, I think would make the questioner feel happy about it. So does this work at all? Devices will all give the same result as that of, say, in a laptop, in a PC, or in a mobile? Yeah. There's one question from Hardeep Singh.
Yeah. So there are two parts to it. One is the assessment and second is the proctoring. So from assessment perspective, it will give the same result, whether you do it on a desktop or a laptop or a mobile phone. From a proctoring engine perspective, it will give a differentiated results, because a CPU of a mobile phone is not as strong as the CPU of a laptop. So for example, on a laptop, you can do two-way proctoring, means that while you are watching the student can also see you at times if you want that. On a mobile phone, that will be difficult to do because mobile CPUs are not very strong. On a mobile CPU, you can do only one-way proctoring. You can just watch the student can't see you. So there are a few limitations, but then I think they are all navigable. None of these are showstoppers.
Okay. How about on scalability part? They are asking if 10,000 students are there, then we have to give 10,000 questions to an assessment engine. Is it practically possible for us to do this task?
No, not 10,000 questions. So for example, let's say there are 10,000 students. You need to possibly give 1,000 questions on a particular paper and tell the software that give 30 questions to every single student. The software will go and find out randomly 30 questions out of that 1,000 question bank. And in case your question bank of 1,000 questions are divided into chapters, into difficulty levels, into type of questions, and tell the instruction rightly to the software will find out, based on the rules that you told him, it will find out 30 independent questions for every single student. So the question papers will look different. No two students will get the same question paper, right? And more prolific is your question bank, the lesser are the chances the same question appears in two different question papers, right? So in the initial period, I think we may not look at 10,000. Yes.
So the uniqueness of the question is well maintained here, basically.
Yes. Software engines are able to do that.
And how is it if a student who is giving a 3-hour examination loses the connectivity after an hour, and what would happen to that exam?
Yeah, so the softwares are differently configured. So as I was telling you, that universities should have a flexible timing for the entire examination, 10 a.m. in the morning to say 4 p.m. in the evening. students would start at 10, 11, 12 o'clock. They will start that time. And in case there is a connectivity problem for someone, they still have up to 4 p.m. to log in, again, re-log in, and the examination will restart from very left. So students do not get undue advantages, but then they need to be given this flexibility looking at connectivity problem can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some messages coming in the chat also. Creating the awareness among the students and faculty regarding the effectiveness on online assessment is also required. Your take on it?
It is. I mean, I have been always saying, Srimati, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years back, but the second best time is today. I mean, we didn't do this all this while. Online, we have been talking about it for quite some time. I've been talking to UGC, MHRD, and so many policymakers and regulators saying that technology can bring a cathartic change in this higher education domain. And it can actually help take education where it belongs to, but we didn't do it. But then since we haven't done it, but I think the second best time is today. We have to start off and looking at the various options that I was talking about. There are 3 different options that I talked about. Looks like online assessments is the most feasible options for most of the students. However, only one solution may not work in current scenario. You may have to look at a blended scenario for the moment.
Yeah, I think that is a concern that's reflected by a parent teacher, I would think of. My daughter attended an online engineering entrance exam, but somehow they ignored the results and are going to admit students based on +2 marks. Why such kind of change?
So this is possibly, I would like to avoid that question because this falls in the realm of policy making. Our policymakers and our regulators.
No, he's adding up to that question, saying that probably the administrators are not confident of the assessment pattern.
Yeah, so no comments on how that examination has got conducted, but globally, universities, institutions have been conducting online assessment for ages today, right? Most of the international examination, most of the international universities have been conducting examinations for ages today. Only in India, we are starting it off now, but I think it's a proven technology all this way.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we have already crossed.
We are almost closer to it. Yeah. Okay.
Cross time, Srimati, and we may have to close up.
Yes, sir. Some of the other questions we would address you. We will definitely take into consideration and give our perfect answers to all your concerns through your email with which we have registered yourself. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful session. And thanks to Shantanu, who as always had been energetic and being patient enough to make us understand each and every aspect of this online assessment, taking into account the efficiency, efficacy, and the effectiveness. I'm sure you all would have benefited through this and look forward to yet another series with a different topic that can enlighten everyone. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. Thanks all of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.